Look, okay, so it's been a few months since the last review. I've been slacking a bit. Just lazy. The last review was Universe Ironhide, which is maybe not the most up-to-date and cool figure I could have looked at. I get it. I need to get my finger on the pulse and rise to the channel before TFN 2025. So I got thinking about who I could review. Maybe I could review Age of the Prime's Megatronus, or Missing Link Corden, or Adamus Machina Rodimus, perhaps. Here's Armada Smokescreen. What? He's cool. Look at this little gremlin. I love him. He's just a little hench guy with a face like a rock lord. Obviously, this is nothing like the Smokescreen we know and love, looking a lot more like Grapple. Well, that's kind of cause he's supposed to be. In Japan, his name was Grap. Apparently, in the process of bringing the Armada show to the West, there was some struggle getting names cleared, and they just ended up using Smokescreen because it was available. He even gets upgraded in the show, and his name changes to Hoist, which is another better name for him. Like, what smokescreens is this guy making? Now, as a toy, he is severely limited, even for the time. By 2002, it's pretty standard for figures to have knees and the like, although Armada did skew into the chunkier, less mobile style of toy compared to the lines we'd had the last few years. He's got decent enough shoulders, but an elbow joint that I'm pretty sure is actually just a coincidence in the construction of his arm more than it is an actual point of articulation. Hands are completely hidden away and immobile. No waist swivel, but he can rock back and forth a little bit. Again, that feels more like a coincidence than it does purposeful. Hips are on a ball joint, so they can move about a decent amount, and there's a thigh swivel. And that's a lot. His head does turn, but it's tricky to get a grip on it, and it's ratcheted due to it being connected via some gears. This massive crane arm, the more observant of you may have noticed, was sitting atop his shoulder. Move the crane arm, and his head moves. It's actually how you reveal his head during transformation. Looks-wise, Smokescreen's a bulky lad. It actually feels like a bigger toy than it is. The orange and blue is a good colour combo. There's probably a sports team I could reference there. Without researching and using my limited sports knowledge, I'm going to say Go Knicks? Anyway, right in the centre of his chest is this working winch, which has a neat gimmick for the vehicle mode we'll check out later. Normally that would be the main identifying feature on a figure like this, but there's no ignoring the previously mentioned crane arm, is there? It's so awkwardly out there, and bounces him a fair bit too, and there's no way to tuck it down the back. I found raising it up one click is enough to move his centre of gravity back to a point where he'll stand well enough. A bit of a wobble will send him falling forwards though. And whilst it's true he's a bit of an awkward design with some poor articulation and one big bit of vehicle mode kibble causing him issues, I can't hate him. He looks fun. There's a little bit of a bruiser vibe to him, like that one short friend of yours that loves starting fights. He's so awkward that I just have to love him. I want my Transformers to be wearing their alt modes with pride, and Smokescreen is certainly doing that. There's a distinct feeling that he was due a few more rounds of design drafts but got pushed out the door to hit shelves on schedule. But it's just a bit of jank, and I do love me a janky bot. Before we move on to transformations, here's his minicon buddy, Liftor. He's a fun little lad who manages to outpose his big buddy in a few ways by having actual elbows and knees. He does activate a gimmick on Smokescreen, but we'll save that for vehicle mode. He's suitably rough and tumble to be hanging with Smokescreen. Also, he's got one eye bigger than the other, like Pim from Smiling Friends. Hope he never gets surgery to fix that. I feel like that's Liftor's iconic look. Not a ton to say about the minicon lad. He's a little guy whose main job is to act as a button presser for a larger lad. So let's transform them both and see what they can do. Transformation for these guys is nice and simple. For Smokescreen, we'll start with the arms by sliding the shoulders back, rotating them behind his head, and then sliding the elbows in on their rail and pegging the arms together. For the legs, we fold up the feet, rotate the legs inward at the thigh, then pull down the rail the waist is on and flip the whole assembly back and peg the legs into some posts below the windshield. Then we'll swing these panels back and hold everything in place, and lastly rotate the crane arm around, which will turn the head around at the same time. For Liftor, we're flipping some back pieces over his head, folding his elbows up, pegging the knees together and flipping the legs over. Nice and simple transformations there. Smokescreen turns into this sort of Cybertronian crane. It's at least a bit futuristic. That's something I quite liked with the Armada line. All the vehicles were unique designs, helps them stand out a bit. and I suppose being bright orange helps this lad stand out too. Sticking with the construction theme, Liftor turns into a sort of bulldozer with forks sticking out the front. It's a pretty badass design. One could easily see this blown up to a larger size and working well with G.I. Joe figures or something maybe less militaristic and more construction based, like Bob the Builder. Naturally, there's some gimmickry to be had here. I'll get the boring ones out the way first. There's a flap with an Autobot badge on it. You can flip up to reveal absolutely nothing. Well, there's a sort of pattern in there. I wonder if it was originally going to have one of them spark crystals. There's also a mini-con port that's purely for storage purposes, right in the way of the crane, that. Now, the real gimmick is the crane itself. Pop Liftor and a port on the back and slide him forward, and out flips a rocket launcher that I assume launches rockets. I don't have any, so I'm afraid we'll never know. Lastly, the hook on the winch has a mini-con port you can pop Liftor on, and, well, you can winch him, I guess. But what if you're tired of rolling that winch manually? You can flip this little switch, and that'll connect the winch mechanism up to the rear wheels, which will now wind the hook and Liftor in while you roll Smokescreen forward. Can you believe the engineering, folks? Seriously though, this is quite fun, and toys should have more of this sort of mechanical thing going on. So yeah, that's Smokescreen and Liftor from the Armada toy line. They're real good fun, even if Smokescreen is very much not perfect. Liftor is a pretty great minicon. He almost steals the show, to be fair. But Smokescreen has just enough charm and little gimmicks to make sure he's fun, despite his unfinished feeling design. I could totally see us getting a modern take on him, what with how the main line has been recently. And I'm sure he'd have loads of articulation and probably a way to drop the crane arm down the back. But would he be as fun? I'm not really sure he would. Different sort of toy line though, isn't it? And I'm sure the way I collect modernised takes on G1 lads is also how some people would like to collect characters from the Unicron trilogy and like, you know, if more came out. I have been in the mood for more guys from this era recently. Picked up Megatron a few weeks ago at the Guildford Comic Con. He's missing his pincers and Leader 1, but he's still a load of fun. The only Armada figures I had back in the day were Unicron and Tidal Wave. Don't have many yet, got Overload and Scrapper at previous TF Nations, got Smokescreen from 1 too. And I've no doubt I'll be picking up something else Unicron trilogy themed at TFN this year. Speaking of TF Nation, if you see me, do come over and say hi. I'll have a box load of Defender Wave 3 blockies I'll be giving away to anyone who comes and says hello until I run out. I'll have Wild Wheel in my pocket, so I should be somewhat identifiable. Looking forward to the event and seeing you guys there. I'll be back after the con with the usual review and pickup vids, so I'll see you then. Please do a like, comment and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you soon, maybe even in person at the convention. I'm not going to appear on your driveway or anything. Or am I?